Hello. Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to our spaces. See the first people joining. It's good to see. Hello Dylan. Hello Alex. Hello MetaKings. I hope everything is well. Everyone's well on this nice Friday afternoon. Maybe it's just morning. Maybe it's already night for you. We'll just wait for guests to arrive and then we can get it going. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. If someone that has access or can message me can confirm that, that would be great.
Okay, looks like we are here and alive.
Hey, HR, thank you for joining. Oh yeah, there we go. Now David requested to join. He's in now as a speaker. Yeah, so I guess I can kind of get it started, introduce ourselves. Yeah, my name's Simon or Simon. I work for Seascape as a community manager. I'll be hosting today's spaces together with Cha. She's our like queen of countess of content, and obviously David, the CEO of Seascape and MetaKings, who will be elaborating on Seascape, BLOCKLORDS, and the future of Web3 gaming. Hopefully, at least that's what the title promises. But I'm pretty confident that's also what the spaces will fulfill to do.
I'm glad you're confident.
I always am. I always am. Especially with David, I nothing but confidence in him.
So happy and touched to hear it. Thanks, Simon. Thank you, Sharmika. Thanks for organizing
Yeah,
this great event. I'm excited to talk to the community.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, now that we have a captive audience, I think it's a good opportunity for us to talk about what we want to really talk about today is like the big picture. Really, like we might focus a little bit on some details, but right now we're in a very pivotal moment, in the history of the development of Web3, gaming, GameFi. It's like if you ride like on a roller coaster and you're like right about to like get to the peak and it's about to do some crazy stuff. We're like we're on our way up there and we don't know what twists and turns, are ahead of us and how we're going to participate in those twists and turns. So today I'm really excited to have that kind of conversation and see where the future leads us and see what we're expecting and how we're going to move and shake and I don't know, break things, whatever the millennials are saying these days, how we're actually going to impact, the future of this industry.
yeah, exactly what Cha said. I think Cha, I think you're a millennial, right? So you should know the
Yes.
lingo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's the I think our most famous millennial is the what's the dude from Facebook, right? Mark Zuckerberg, the
Mm.
moving and break things. So, this new generation of the new technology, maybe we need a new slogan. Maybe we don't want to break things. Maybe we want to, I don't know, give life to things, birth things. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I think in the like startup space, disrupting is always a big thing, right? Disrupting stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not sure if if disruptive is the right word, but I always hear that in like startup pitches.
Well, I'd say disrupting is a very good word to describe what Web3 is doing, not only to gaming, but to, you could say, the internet or to society as a whole. So let's start with disrupting. I think that's a good word to start on.
Okay, great. So we found the term, disrupting.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we have quite a few audiences, a lot of familiar faces as well. I know some names are recognized from the community. So it's great to hear. So we know there's avid fans as well listening, and I think they are also like among the most interested. Yeah. So obviously the big talking points are like as the title says, Seascape network as a whole, BLOCKLORDS, which I think got a lot of people going. It got a lot of traction. We've all seen the trailer by now, I hope. Fantastic stuff. You can still go and pre-register if you're interested, which you should do. And obviously, yeah, I think also the future of Web3 gaming as a whole, which is linked to both Seascape and BLOCKLORDS. Yeah. Do you want to get started with the first like question to see?
Yeah. Let's just dive right in.
Fantastic. Yeah. So this is obviously David. We want to hear the community wants to hear what you have to think, what you have to say, what you think. And yeah, let's start off with the grand scale of things, right? How do you envision the future of Web3 gaming? What kind of trends do you expect to see? And how do you think that will impact gaming as a whole, the entire gaming world in general?
Well, that's a pretty broad question overall, but definitely I could say a jumping point for any conversation about this topic would be, what is Web3? What is it, and how is it going to play into gaming? I'd say we can start there, but essentially for me, I mean, Web3 is this idea that we had the start of the internet where essentially the users were just passive consumers of information, right? Whether it was on these news bulletins that people would send out, or just announcements made from the system organizers. And you had this very early internet that most people probably in this group didn't really live through. I was probably born right around the early, I mean, we were around, but Web 2 is really when things started to take off. And now with Web 3, we're looking at how can users actually get involved and be a part of digital economies, and then find ways to not only consume value, not only share their opinions, but actually create value and share that value with others, right? So I tend to ramble on a lot, but as we're getting into these broad topics, it's probably good to get started with kind of defining some terms. And I mean, for me, the basic question is more, what is it not going to change? Essentially, what we're exploring at Seascape and what we're taking even further with BLOCKLORDS is, what is the meaning of an NFT, right? Like when NFTs were invented in late 2017, I still remember buying my crypto kitty. And to me, right away, when I bought my first crypto kitty, it wasn't really, I'm buying a picture of a cat and I can make money from that picture of a cat. It was really, I'm buying this potential to breed more cats and to create kind of a family of cats, and to get really to get involved in this universe that was CryptoKitties. And now CryptoKitties was a short-lived project, but I think it showed perfectly the potential of Web3. And it is this idea that I, as a user, own an asset. I have something. It's on the blockchain. It's verifiably mine. And what I do with it is really up to me. I can use it in this system that the devs created in CryptoKitties. I can create more cats. I can sell those cats. I can just hopefully play another game with those cats. It's really, for me, really Web3 is this idea that devs or communities will create universes, right? Metaverses, if you want to use a buzzword, and where users can essentially do what they want within the parameters that are set. And so, but the options for that are endless. So I'll kind of stop rambling here because I want this to be more of a conversation than just me speaking. But essentially, what will Web3 change within gaming? Well, essentially, it will allow game devs to create new economies. It'll not only just game dev to user economies, but actually user to user economies. It will allow players to essentially truly own their assets, truly monetize their assets if they want to, or just really feel like they're a part of the games they're building. So I'll kind of stop there and let you kind of go on for a follow-up question.
I'm glad that you took the opportunity to like kind of go a bit down memory lane, because I actually have something a question that's sort of like in that same sort of space, right? So, David, I've known you for a very long time, like for many, many, many years. And one thing that's been really consistent over all the projects we've done together, all of the things I've, seen you do as a creative force, is this idea of the audience or the consumer being the author or the creator of the thing that they're consuming, right? Like the relationship between consumer and consumed being less auteur type. There's less like this, God hand creating a specific experience that they want the user to consume, and more of an idea of the user himself creating the experience that they want to consume, right? And that's just something that you've kind of waxed poetic about for pretty much as long as I've known you, right? So do you think that that's going to be, I mean, that's a huge part of BLOCKLORDS, right? Do you think that's going to be a sort of big like wave of within the Web3 community in general, like the same way that, say, like reality TV kind of took over television, right? Like where there was like participant driven television, right? Well, this like user-driven authorship, user-driven creation. You think that's going to be like a huge part of Web3, or is it just something like you are personally passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, you're not beating around the bush. You went straight into my personal interest and passion points. But yeah, I mean, spot on. I think you put it in great words yourself. But essentially, every player playing a game not only partakes in the experience, right? Because we can all watch TV, we can all watch a TV show, and we see the show and we laugh at the fun joke, and then we move on, right? But what makes gaming so unique is that in a game you're actually creating a moment, right? You win a spectacular battle, or you have this weird looking kid, in your dynasty family system, or you build this epic farm, and those kind of moments, they mean something, right? They always mean something. Like I've been playing games my whole life, and whenever I beat a game, or whenever I achieved something that I've been working towards a long time in a game, I always felt something really special. And what Web3 kind of allows us to do, but that's still an untapped potential of the industry, I think, is really to take those moments and capture them forever, right, on the chain, and essentially turn them into NFTs, or tokenize them, or turn them into an asset somehow. That means something to me, and I think that's really the untapped potential of Web3. It's the ability to create experiences for yourself or for others, and then share those experiences with others, whether it's as content, whether it's as NFTs, whether it's as moments on your social, and then essentially to own those moments, and if you want to sell them, or to turn them into more moments, and essentially grow on that way. So I would say, kind of like also the last point you touched on, which is the NFT as really creating a memory. I think we've even seen in some of our Seascape games some pretty epic moments, especially in the Seascape price groups, which I can see a few OG faces in here. Some pretty fun drama going on when trades have not turned out the way they were supposed to, or when certain NFTs were announced as the characters du jour, for example, in the most recent staking saloon. And for me, these are also like experiences, and these are kind of part of the idea of creating a narrative around the assets in a game. And that's something that we're still very early on in Seascape, but that is the big picture goal. It's this idea of how do we let users create their experiences, define their experiences, and then actually own and use their experiences, not only in games, but in media and in social as a whole.
Yeah, to touch on that, I think it was during NFT NYC, right? I think that's the name. You also said that the user is the NFT, right? You are the NFT, and I think that's something that stuck by me. And that's obviously everyone is an NFT. They're non-fungible, right? They're one of a kind. But I think that's also like a great way to look at the space as a whole, and how user-driven it is compared to maybe more traditional Web2 media and games.
Yeah, exactly. And this is actually what essentially started my interest in Web3 gaming in the first place, over 5 years ago now. Well, we're getting close to 5 years. Was essentially this idea that free-to-play users were treated essentially as commodities, right? It was a game and publishing houses still treat it that way. It's not about getting users who really care about your game. It's about getting 10 million users who are going to spend as much as possible in your game. And so what really attracted me with Web3 was this idea that a user could create their own experience and could then turn that experience into something that we owned. And that's something we explored early on in Seascape days, but because the technology is so new, it's still very hard to kind of implement some of the ideas we've had for a very long time. But with BLOCKLORDS now, we feel we're getting to a narrative stage where we can actually start giving personality to the NFTs, color to the NFTs, and we can let players' actions define the NFTs. And in turn, that will allow the players to really define themselves within the BLOCKLORDS universe. And once we have that concept, solidify, we feel that that's something Seascape can take and scale up to many different games and projects.
Tight. That's cool.
Yeah. One thing I want to say is for people, if you have questions, because it's like very hard in like spaces to see who wants to say something without like randomly picking. You can feel free to the original like tweet, the spaces, like just reply to that tweet if you have any questions. We look at them. We'll try to answer them later on. Just so you know, yeah, we definitely do want to hear from you as well. So yeah, just so you know. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, not to spend the entire time like digging specifically into your interests or whatever, but one thing that we do a lot at Seascape in general, like kind of from the beginning, like one of the big like kind of words that is all the time used is strategy, right? Like how do we turn various simple mechanics into a strategy? How do we make sure that players who are interacting with, with DeFi or with NFTs in whatever scale they're interacting with them, there's always a strategy to it, right? Like, and that strategy can lead to different things. It can lead to, hoarding a particular kind of character. It can lead to profiting in certain ways, right? Like just like this whole idea of strategy, like treating, your experience kind of like a game of chess. And of course, BLOCKLORDS is a strategy game as well. Again, strategy is something that I know that you like personally. I know that you like strategy games in general. Do you think that strategy and user-driven content, do you personally think that strategy as a genre is uniquely suited to blockchain technology, or is it just something that you're personally interested in?
I'd say yes to both those things. For me, essentially, as a gamer, strategy has always been the core driver. It's the thing I like to do when I play a game. It's not just again, not just consuming the game, but kind of seeing, okay, these are the challenges this game is posing to me as a player, and how can I, as a user, basically put my own little spin, because every problem, there's 1,000 ways to solve it, right? But what's cool about games is you get to find your own little way to solve that specific problem. And strategy games are the ultimate it's basically the ultimate experience for a gamer, in my opinion, because there's so many things, right? It's math. You got to look at your resource production. You got to see what's the yield on your farm. You got to, for example, a game of Age of Empires, right? Before I go too deep into mechanics, but in a game of Age of Empires, you start off, you got some workers. Okay, I got to build some buildings. I got to chop some wood. Okay, now am I going to chop wood or mine rocks? Well, I'm going to need rocks to build this wall later. So I should probably put one guy on rocks and then one guy on woods, right? And then you keep building on that. And then at the end of a game, you're making hundreds, if not thousands of decisions kind of to decide, okay, what's the ultimate strategy and how am I going to win this game, right? And that's kind of the main point, right? That's why we play the games. We want to win. And when I discovered, crypto in early 2017, coming from a game developer background before that, who had worked on a number of strategy games, to me, it was just such a perfect match, because crypto investors and strategy gamers are just the same, that they think about the same things. And if you look at the DeFi farmer, back from DeFi summer, the thought process was very similar. It was like, okay, I can put my assets into Compound. I can take a 10 ETH loan against my USDC. I can put that in YAM. I can print a bunch of YAM tokens. I can sell them on SushiSwap. So just kind of like when I started thinking along those lines of like, strategy gamers and crypto investors think very similarly, and doing strategy games designed around crypto would allow essentially game devs to attract Web2 gamers. I mean, that was kind of like how the initial thought process was, and why I was interested in strategy games specifically early on. And as most of people in here probably know, BLOCKLORDS was our initial stint into crypto before we started Seascape. But what happened is, as we got better and better at cross-chain development with BLOCKLORDS V1, and we became essentially, you could say, pretty advanced in terms of our knowledge of cross-chain game and NFT development, and we received this essentially investment to start infrastructure work with Seascape. One of the first thing I wanted to explore was, okay, NFTs are taking off. NFTs are used in games. NFTs are used, as CryptoPunks, and they're used as status symbols on OpenSea. Now, how can we take NFTs, integrate them to games, and actually allow users to forge their own strategies around how they interact with NFTs? And that was really the early idea with Seascape, and it still is the core idea with Seascape. It's like, how do we redefine users and NFTs, right? And so that's why with the games we've released with Seascape in partnership with other game devs, it's really been all about, okay, we have this concept of tokens, we have this concept of staking, and we have this concept of NFTs. What type of user experiences can we create based around that? And that's essentially, that core idea is where all the mini games came from. Profit Circus, which was all about liquidity mining, which was all about creating liquidity, and giving people free NFTs. Giving people free NFTs has always been like a thing for me. It's this idea that the NFT should not just be this impossible thing that you have to pay for. There should be ways to get NFTs for free, and NFTs should be created by user demand as well. So that was kind of like the original idea, and then we just kind of riffed with it, right? We went with NFT Brawl, which was all about randomized output and on-demand creation of NFTs, and then we were with Staking Saloon, where those NFTs could be burned but get tokens out of it. And, the rest is, I guess, Seascape history, right? With Zombie Farm and Forum and Moonscape and all of that. So at the idea, it's really what more than a JPEG can be the NFT be? And that's really at the heart of everything we've done.
Yeah, dude. Tight. I think, when I listen to this kind of, like take a step back from everything, the flow of time, sort of like, where do these things where do all these different ideas come from? Where is the big picture? I think these are extremely important conversations to have, and I'm very, I'm excited to be a part of that. And I think that Seascape's already kind of made an impression on the industry in general. I see a lot of other projects who've taken a lot of these ideas, such as like the instantiation of the NFTization, so to speak, of DeFi projects. I think that's super, super cool. So yeah, let's do more of that. And I think we've already started getting questions from the community, actually.
Yeah, we definitely did. So, I mean, this is not entirely on the topic of the previous question, but someone asked if there will be an option to pick up my past NFTs from the last game. What are the old NFTs for? I assume that's a legacy player, one of the OGs that stuck around and is now excitedly waiting for the launch of BLOCKLORDS fully.
Yes, exactly. We haven't announced fully the details of that yet, but there will be a way to essentially get banner chests and special BLOCKLORDS banners based on your previous in-game activity. So NFT heroes from Ethereum will be able to be burned to get special banner chests, and there will be also bonuses for the old users. So short answer is yes.
Yeah, it's not been for nothing. You definitely you've been part from the beginning, and you will see something like the fruits of your labor. Yeah. Then there's someone saying that they love the philosophy of David, Seascape, and BLOCKLORDS. Very visionary about meaningfully moving the industry forward. Such clarity of purpose. So thank you a lot for the kind words. I think it's great to hear that. Yeah, positive reception is always very welcome. Let's move on to another question. You've talked about our mini games as well. Obviously, BLOCKLORDS, there's still a lot coming in the future. But what are the milestones that are on the horizon for Seascape and MetaKings in the coming months? So like in the nearer future. And what do you recommend players who want to be part of that do to prepare for what's coming?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and also it's even more so when the market is the way it is right now, right? I mean, we've gone through a huge shift in crypto where, earlier this year everybody was wildly optimistic, and we've gone through, several liquidity events that have hurt a lot of people. And of course, the first step is as an industry is looking at the promises that were made, the choices that were made, and really feeling for people who lost assets, in things like the Celsius and Voyager insolvencies. So the first step is really as a community to ask ourselves, how do we protect our users? How do we care for our users? How do we set up, customer service that's professional and on par with other game companies? And really, so for us, both at Seascape and at MetaKings, it's really looking at the gaming industry as a whole, and not just the Web3 industry, but really the gaming industry. And like, okay, how do we set the standard here, and how do we elevate ourselves instead of just comparing ourselves with other Web3 companies? And so, at the end of the day, the answer to that is really product first. We have to put everything into product, and we have to keep getting better and better on product. And the challenge that we have with Seascape and MetaKings is we do have a lot of product, and that does take a lot of time and a lot of effort. But essentially, right now, there is a huge focus on BLOCKLORDS. We do see BLOCKLORDS as a very big step in Seascape's future, because Seascape is essentially handling all the infrastructure for BLOCKLORDS and MetaKing Studios. That means all the smart contract solutions, that means the marketplace building, that means the NFT building, that means the token concepts, tokenomics, the NFT design, everything is essentially handled by Seascape, and says Seascape on the infrastructure side. And Seascape is able to really allow the MetaKing Studios team to focus on building the game, on building the identity, on building the brand of BLOCKLORDS, which is an epic brand, and which we are aiming to make the top premium strategy and honestly entertainment brand in the Web3 space. And so I just kind of want to clarify this, because it is a question that pops up once so often. And essentially, Seascape is focused on making infrastructure more scalable, higher quality, and better overall for not only BLOCKLORDS, but all games in the Seascape ecosystem. And so while BLOCKLORDS is a big priority, we are putting a lot of focus on improving the mini games, making sure that the designs that we come up with on the NFT side are, if not always, if not always profitable, they're always interesting, and they're always surprising, and we're always experimenting with a new way to use NFTs. And that is, at the end of the day, a very important part of Seascape. And that is what we're exploring with Moonscape as well, right? So Moonscape, that we're developing with our partner studio, BitPunch. We've already, we were the first project on Moonbeam. We're the only game on Moonbeam, I believe. And essentially, the first idea was, hey, how do we take liquidity pool, but how do we let users earn liquidity pools through gameplay? And that's something we've explored with Zombie Farm. That's something we're exploring with Moonscape. But we're also going to start experimenting. I know the Romans are a highly anticipated part of Moonscape, and we're experimenting with how do you take NFTs that are, located across different chains, and how can users start sending them to one game, and essentially how do we solidify a cross-chain ecosystem? That's something we're exploring as well. So yeah, sorry, I'm deviating, Simon, but to answer your question, short term, definitely BLOCKLORDS NFT is going to be a huge thing. We are at MetaKing Studios building BLOCKLORDS into a premium brand. That means not only a game, not only NFTs, that means we want to make essentially BLOCKLORDS, the digital entertainment of the future. That means you can stay on the lookout for content and a lot of partnerships and essentially a lot of things to happen on the BLOCKLORDS side. And on the Seascape side, we'll keep building out the infrastructure. We'll keep working with Halborn to make sure all smart contracts are safe, to make sure all games are safe, and that we improve the user experience as much as possible on the blockchain side. And you can look at, improvements to the mini games. You can look at improvements to Moonscape. And on Lighthouse, we do have a few. I know there's frustration on this, but we're managing expectations. We want to launch the best project we can at the perfect time. There will be other projects on Lighthouse when they're ready. So that's what I can say about the upcoming milestones.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think some of that is definitely needed because people have been wondering. There's always, especially about the Romans as well, specifically, people are always asking. But I know there's a lot in the works, and it does really get me excited as well. Not just as an employee, but whenever the more I see of BLOCKLORDS, the more I fall in love and really can't wait. So I'm really clawing at my desk, wanting to play this game as well. So yeah, I think I am excited. I hope a lot of other people are, and I definitely know I've spoken with some of the community, and I think there's a lot of anticipation. So that's really, great to hear. Cha, you want to ask something?
Yeah, sure. So, we get this question a lot, and we sort of talked about it before, but now that, we're all here together like a big old family, I figure might as well re-disambiguate this, right? So we've been saying, this week to our Seascape long-term fans who have been anticipating, like, what exactly is the relationship between BLOCKLORDS and Seascape? What's going on here, right? And the analogy that we've been talking about, or what I understand at least, is that Seascape is to MetaKing Studios is to BLOCKLORDS as essentially Disney is to Lucasfilm is to Star Wars, right? There's the macro brand and the one of the affiliated or not really affiliated, but like the company within the macro company that makes the main flagship product. And please expound on that. I think people would love to hear about that. And also, are we going to start doing like Comic-Con reveals? Like, are we going to start having like, big events where we like, rip a cloth from a screen and get excited about, I don't know, the 5 movies coming out in 2025? Like, how are we going to start doing these reveals, getting the community hyped up for that?
Yeah, I mean, you put it perfectly in that Seascape really is the infrastructure. Seascape makes it happen. Seascape is really the innovator when it comes to how do we use NFTs in a way nobody has used them before, right? And sometimes it sounds easy. Sometimes we can talk about NFTs, doing this and doing that. But I do want to specify that coming up with technically new ways of using NFTs is not only extremely difficult, it's also extremely scary because of the ways hackers, can take advantage, because of the way scammers can take advantage as well. So I do want to say that what Seascape does is extremely valuable, not only for the games under the Seascape umbrella, but also for the industry as a whole, right? I mean, we do still believe in following open source standards. We do make many of our smart contracts open source. And we believe strongly, essentially, that NFTs need to be much more than just JPEGs, or even much more than just staking assets in random play-to-earn games, right? We want to use NFTs different ways. And, with BLOCKLORDS, I know this is a feature we haven't talked much about yet, but the permadeath feature in BLOCKLORDS is unseen. No other game is doing this. Let's see. I'm sure many games will do this after BLOCKLORDS is released. But essentially, this concept that your NFT is not just a picture that lives forever, but that it's an asset that lives, breathes, and dies, and then also the implication of what the NFT can do after you die are huge. And so, again, I'm rambling into another topic, but essentially, Shar, to answer your question, Seascape is what makes it all possible by providing the infrastructure, by providing the technology, by providing the security, and also by providing the publishing power. Because as we all know, publishing is an extremely important part of game development. What's the point of having a game if nobody can see it? So Seascape handles the publishing of these games. And then you perfectly, studios like MetaKing Studios, like BitPunch, like Peter and Sons that we work with, are essentially the creators. They create the games, they create the brands, they create the communities, they manage the communities, although Seascape, of course, has a great community of its own. They build products. And the idea is, yes, there's, I think we're up to 6 games now, probably a few more on the horizon. Won't give too many details on that. But essentially, the idea is Seascape will remain the infrastructure for all these games, while the stable of games and the quality of games and the size of games keep increasing throughout the years.
Cool. I'm into it. Are we going to start having reveals, though? Tell me we're going to have reveals.
I'll leave that up to the marketing teams. I just dream up weird ways to use NFTs.
Okay, when we have the reveals, though, you got to come and actually.
I'll be
reveal.
there. I'll do my speech.
Yeah, you can be Kevin Feige.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so it's all in your hands, Ja. You have the reins. You can reveal however you want.
Yeah, that's good.
David, you said or you talked about using NFTs in different ways, right? So someone asked as well if NFTs can essentially be dynamic. So as the current status, they're quite static. And in BLOCKLORDS, will NFTs actually change and evolve over time with or without user input? And I think that's something you kind of touched upon earlier, but maybe it might be very interesting to elaborate upon that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the perfect question. And that's exactly the goal. Like, we want a user to start with a character. Let's say you start off as a farmer, you have pretty low stats, maybe you're a free-to-play player, so you got your NFT, as you signed up. As you start farming, let's say you're really good at wheat farming, well, your stats regarding wheat farming are going to increase over time, and this is going to be reflected in your NFT. So, I think a perfect comparison for character progression is a game like Crusader Kings, where you start off with a user, or you start off with a character, they have some basic stats, and then as you play the game your way, your hero will get better and better at different things. And let's say you're a farmer, cool. You're really good at farming wheat. Okay, and now a bear attacks, so you send your farmer to kill a bear. Cool, you kill the bear. Well, now maybe your hero has some extra stats when it comes to killing bears that makes you better at hunting, right? And so what you can do as users, you can export the NFT from the game. You can sell him, and maybe someone else who wants to be a bear hunter, he's like, oh, this farmer has some potential to kill some bears. So I'm gonna buy that NFT. I'm gonna nurture him for bear hunting, right? And this is just one very made up example, but essentially we want the user to be able to improve the stats of their character, to improve the traits of their character. Every character will have their own stats, their own traits, and their own little perks, so to say, that will differentiate them and also give them different advantages in the game. Now, where that gets really, really interesting, and this is later down in scope, this won't be in version 0.1, but imagine you have a hero that's very good at farming wheat, and now it's time to get married. You're getting a little older, you're in your 30s, it's time to think about your legacy, about your children. Well, maybe you're going to find yourself a wife who's very good at farming wheat too, and you're going to have some kids, right? Well, guess what? Your kid's going to be born, and he's going to be the LeBron James of farming wheat. And all of a sudden, kind of randomly through your gameplay, you've kind of had this freak of nature who's just amazing at farming wheat. And that's something you can turn either into a whole lot of wheat, and now all of a sudden you have a lot of wheat in the game, or again, you can sell it to someone else and kind of define your BLOCKLORDS experience that way. And of course, then when your hero dies, that's kind of where we have some pretty interesting things, because in BLOCKLORDS, and again, I don't want to overpromise because some of these features are still in development, or some of them will be changed, or some might be removed. The game development is a tricky beast. But essentially, once your NFT dies and your farm passes on to your son, you will still have an NFT. You will still own an NFT who's effectively dead. But then what we're starting to think about, okay, now we have a dead NFT, but it's still an NFT. It still exists on the blockchain. So how can we use that? And, some ideas we're floating around is, you can stake your dead NFT in the church and get get an honor boost, or you can maybe bury them in your backyard and get some fertilizers, or if we're thinking really on the grand scale, maybe in a few years you could send your dead NFT to your PlayStation, and that would be a character in another game, or you could import your dead NFT into a staking contract and so staking saloon. I mean, that's what excites me about Web3 is really the dynamic NFT concept is endless. There's so many things we can do, and NFTs live forever, so we're going to be able to do it forever.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. I think the family and generation feature was something Cha was very interested in one of our streams this week. She really
Indeed.
took a liking to that.
Indeed, I'm very determined to have a pregnant 80-year-old raider, and I'm
Oh boy.
really interested to see what happens there. Like, what happened if I attack and I'm pregnant, right? Like, do I get like a debuff from that? Do I attack less good if I'm carrying child? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when the actual game is.
Yeah, I think our game economy designer would like to have a word with you. Well, essentially, to answer your question for the pregnant 80-year-old, it does get exponentially harder to have a kid with each year after 45. So that's the 80-year-old pregnant raider. It's gonna be difficult, but it's not gonna be impossible. I won't shut it down.
Not impossible.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
It's a dream. Come on.
It's an honorable dream.
But Cha, that messes with your hitbox, right? So you're a lot easier to hit. So.
Yeah, in theory, that's the tough part. That's the hard part. But it's a strategy. I got to figure out my strategy.
Yeah, and I think also like the dying part is very interesting. I think that's something that's like very unusual, right? Maybe you can just go and taunt the farms of unsuspecting peasants, just like going. But that's again, like I think our game designer is like he's gonna be mad when we come up with crazy ideas in the Twitter spaces that he might not be able to put into action.
The death system is a tricky system, and we're handling it with a lot of care because we do understand NFTs are assets. People own them. People do trade them. People pay for them. They have value, whether it's defined by the users or defined by the market. NFTs have value, and so we don't want to just willy-nilly kill people's NFTs. There are going to be very clear rules. Usually there are going to be heads up, so like, hey, you're getting old. It might be time to get an heir. But of course, if you take reckless actions, such as going on raids with a bad army, like the more reckless you are with your in-game actions, the higher the chance of dying. But we also won't just mass kill a bunch of NFTs without any heads ups.
Yeah, I think people might be upset, and
do you anticipate people getting like really attached to their characters? Like what if like someone gets like they really really love a character? Do you anticipate there being like emotional situations there?
Of course, yeah. I definitely. I think people have gotten emotionally attached to Trixie and Armstrong and all of the scapes.
Yeah, but they don't die. They don't die, man.
Yeah, but doesn't losing something makes it more precious, right? So I think it will lead. The fact that the NFTs do that will lead to even more attachment, and this is what gets me excited because. Especially as we start exploring, content generation, and as we start exploring what can be done with NFTs beyond the games. What if a player had a really cool character that they played the game with, and maybe they won a very epic battle, and then Netflix decides to do a BLOCKLORDS TV show, and the writing team has to define characters. Okay, which characters are going to be a part of the BLOCKLORDS TV show? And then, oh, hey, this NFT died on the battlefield in this pretty epic community story. And then what if that NFT could be incorporated in something? I'm just dreaming here. But these are the types of ideas that kind of get me excited of like the fact that each character is going to mean so much in the BLOCKLORDS lore, in the block lore, as we're starting to call it internally. It opens up more opportunities, right? It opens up more opportunities for the story of the game, for what can be done later in revival games, So essentially the fact that they're going to mean so much to people is a bonus. And then of course, like in the real world, if someone means a lot to you, you get married and you have children with them, and that's how your legacy will live on.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. This is kind of earth shattering, right? Are you gonna have like NFTs do real world stuff, like run for political office, or I don't know,
Ooh.
like
Well, I wouldn't say political office, but yeah, I think we can definitely keep exploring. And of course, in the game, politics is a huge factor. You can be a lord, you can be a lady, you can be a king or a queen, and of course, the more you achieve inside your in-game life, the more fun you'll have, essentially.
Cool. We got a question from the audience who they wonder when you die, you have to leave your stuff to your to an heir. What if you don't have an heir?
Yeah, so we have a few scenarios put in place. Essentially, we want to encourage people to have heirs, right? Now, heirs are either you get married and you have kids, which will be achievable in game, or you buy another NFT and you adopt them, or you even get a free farmer NFT and you adopt them, right? So there will be many, many different ways to have children. Or to have an heir, essentially. Now, that said, if you're an inactive player, you don't play the game, and you had a farm and you die, you will lose your farm. So there are consequences to dying. And this is also our way of essentially rewarding active users. We want users to be active. And we do think, I think that's a Seascape thesis as a whole. The problem with people buying NFTs and then not using them is a big problem in the GameFi industry, so to say. So you will lose your farm if you die without an heir. That said, it's not that hard to get an heir. But if you lose your farm, you will still be able to burn your dead NFT and get a hero of similar stats and quality. So the short answer basically is you would lose your in-game achievements, such as your farm, your army, or your lordship, but you would be able to claim a hero of similar stats to the one who died.
So what I'm hearing from you is that the game will act as a concerned grandparent asking when they're going to have grandchildren. Is that about what I should be expecting? Okay, all right, gotcha. It's not as though I'm currently in my mid-30s dealing with that same kind of pressure, but all right, I'll do it digitally. I accept that.
Yeah, I might be actually projecting a bit of my own grandparents' pressure into the game that we're building. That's very true.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We have a couple other questions. Some of them I don't know if we're going to be able to actually answer. There are a lot of questions about the IDO. What should people like? I guess in general, what should people do? Like, let's say you're excited, right, about BLOCKLORDS. You're excited about Seascape. You want to be a part of this. You really believe in it. What's like the thing or things people should be doing right now to be prepared to be part of the movement?
Yeah, so the first thing to do is really go on blocklords.com and register or pre-register for the hero claim, essentially.
Does that cost any money?
No, that's completely free.
Completely free?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Believe it.
And that is a big part of how we're approaching the BLOCKLORDS rollout. We want to get as many users as possible, into the IP, into the brand, and we want to get, a lot of people into BLOCKLORDS. So anybody who whitelists will be able to claim a banner chest. That will be enough to get your own farmer and to get started. That said, there will be ways later on. I can't really announce the details yet, but there will be ways later on to compete for the initial lords, who are going to be extremely limited. So again, there will be ways to get even more involved after the initial mint. But for now, really pre-registering is a great way to get involved. It makes sure you're on our email list. It makes sure you're part of the community. The Discord group has been very active, and there also has been a text-based farming game set up there. So that's also an additional way to get extra perks and to get in. But yeah, I mean, the main thing right now is that we are still in an early stage. We want people to get involved in the community, to start talking about BLOCKLORDS, and there will be more information very soon. I know that's a meme in this industry, but we are planning to get NFTs into the hands of people quite soon, and that will be really the first step of being a part. And again, I do want to stress, making great games takes a long time, but we also want to make sure that the community gets their hands on the NFTs and they're able to interact with them pretty early on, which is something we've always explored with Seascape. Beyond that, I would say, stay in the loop with Seascape, keep playing the Seascape games. because there will be opportunities via the Seascape network of games to get a piece of BLOCKLORDS that way as well.
Fantastic stuff, definitely.
Sweet.
Oh,
on that note, actually, if you happen to be listening right now and you haven't already, please go and sign up for your free hero. And in addition to that, we actually have a gleam going on right now between Seascape and BLOCKLORDS. It is a joint gleam that not only will you have the opportunity to get your hands on a free hero, but you'll also be rewarded with various goodies if you have the opportunity to get your hands on some extra crowns rewards. So we'll send a link to that over here, and please make sure that you guys join. Get all these. Don't miss your opportunity to get free stuff. I really can't stress that enough. Nothing is as cool as when it's free. So definitely don't miss your opportunity on that.
Yeah, certainly. I think also just keep an eye on the like community and like on the announcement channels. There's always new information coming. I think the BLOCKLORDS Twitter is definitely worth checking out, even when the game's not out. It's one of the best or funniest handles in crypto, in my opinion. So definitely check that out. There's loads of stuff to do still, even without the game being released, and I think definitely pre-register, because as Charles said, free stuff is can never be bad, really.
And I'll take also this opportunity to thank the Seascape community for being really the earliest supporters of me, Nikki, Meta, the founding team, and really everyone here. It was a huge favor to the community, and I know in tough times like these, it's easy to get frustrated and to want more and faster progress, but we are really committed to building the machine that's going to generate the most amount of NFT games out there in the Web3 space, and we really want our users along with us on this journey. And BLOCKLORDS is a very important step, but so is Moonscape, so is Lighthouse, so is the NFT marketplace, the Scape store, and the mini games are all hugely important. And so we are committed to building long term and look forward to really keep providing good content in the coming years.
Yeah,
awesome.
Sure. Tight, as Charles would say.
Tight. Do people still say that? Is that like not a thing anyone says anymore?
People in their mid-30s certainly do. I'm not sure about anyone else.
Oh, okay, all right. But you got jokes. What do the kids say? What, poggers?
Poggers.
Is that what people say? Oh my gosh.
I think that's also something people in their mid-30s say. The younger generation say.
My goodness, David, he's talking smack.
I'm sorry. Definitely the two wrong people to talk smack to. I apologize. No, I think Tide is cool, and I think it's coming back actually, Char. I've been hearing it more and more. It's making a big comeback. So. Definitely. Yeah, thank you, David, for the insight. I think, very insightful, as insight is often.
I just shared a link to our Gleam, and you guys can find there links to everything else that is necessary, all of our socials, how to get your hands on a free hero, all of that good stuff. Please not only do it for yourself, but send it around. Make sure that everyone you know is getting it on the goodies while they can. So
definitely make sure to form alliances with your friends to make sure you can start off BLOCKLORDS as successful as possible. Apart from that, I think definitely the first thing you should do, if you haven't done already, pre-register. That's the first thing. After that, I think follow the socials, join the community, stay active there to stay in the loop, to see what's happening, because there's always stuff going on, even as I said before, without the game being released yet. So definitely also follow us, of course. There's already, if you want to play games already, there's Moonscape is out right now in early access too. We have our mini games running at certain points, but there's always stuff to play, stuff to do, stuff to see and to enjoy.
Yeah, come be a part of the SCU, the Seascape. No, that's cinematic. The CWU, the Seascape Web3 universe. All right, I'm coining it. It's officially a thing. It's a thing now. Go join it.
Yeah, it's coined, minted almost. No, yeah, but definitely join. Check out the socials. And yeah, thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for speaking, David. Thank you for co-hosting, Char. I think it's been a blast. It's been very interesting. Good to hear. I think the community always really appreciates when David addresses stuff, because there's no better source for Seascape related news than the man himself. So yeah, thanks a lot, David.
Thank you both. Have a good one.
All right. Have a great day, evening, weekend, you guys, and we will see you on the blockchain.
Exactly. Yeah, and enjoy your weekend. Have a good start into it. Finish up work successfully if you're not done already, and yeah, stay safe.
Precisely. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.